Welcome, everyone. Buenas noches a todos. Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Present.
trustee Wells,
Here.
trustee Lawson,
Here.
Vice President Marquez,
Here.
President Diaz-Locum.
Here.
Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the last school year board meeting for Redwood City Elementary School District. Buenas noches a todos y gracias por estar aquí en esta última noche de junta para el distrito de Redwood City. We have Spanish translation. Si necesita interpretación al español, por favor llame al 978-990-5137 y presione el 837-7041 y el signo de número. If you're speaking to the board, you are encouraged to speak on issues concerned, whether or not the issues are on the agenda. To address the board, please complete a speaker's card if you are here in person, and if you are online, please go ahead and fill out a Google Doc. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, I had a few. Let's see, I'm wondering if we want to move 12.10 through 12.14 to consent.
Actually, I like to pull 12.10.
Okay. Do you want to pull it or you want to like keep it on action?
Pull it.
Pull it. So we're
Yes.
not going to
No, it
discuss
needs
it
to come
tonight.
back at the August 10th meeting.
Okay. All right. So that's off. Okay. So 12.11 through 12.14 to consent. Now, do the rest of these need to stay? I don't know.
We definitely 12.2, 12.3. Let me look.
I mean, a lot of these are resolutions or
12.1 needs to stay, 12.2, 12.3
Yeah.
for the budget.
okay.
Reasons for reserves, San Mateo County Office of Education, authorized signatures, that should stay.
Yeah, all the
Yeah, those are
resolutions.
all resolutions, and we need the bank pieces to stay too.
Yeah.
Those were
So I
changed.
just said 12.11 through
Right.
12.14. And then, and then I was also wondering if we could add staff recognition somewhere. And I don't know if it makes sense to do it at the beginning. We sometimes do it under 6, or we could do it with our board reports. Do the board members have any preference?
We usually do it.
Usually do it under the school and community reports, I
Yeah.
think. Okay, so why don't we do it there? If you don't mind. Okay. So that would be like a 6.0 right before we get into the bond stuff, because then we have a bunch of bond stuff. All right,
Okay. Can I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
so move.
So second,
Oh, actually, you do the
That's
motion,
okay.
Maria. I'll second it. Thank you.
okay.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Present.
trustee Wells,
I.
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Hi.
Vice President Marquez.
Aye.
President Diaz-Locum.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any oral communication?
No oral communication.
Thank you. So moving along to item 6, school and community report. Again, 6.0 staff recognition.
Yes, why don't I kickstart it and then I can turn it over to Dr. Baker. Dr. Baker and I spoke earlier today, and we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to recognize 2 of our amazing staff individuals who will be, I think this is their last board meeting. So I know the board of directors wanted to say thank you, and we can each go around and say a few words for both Priscilla and Eliana, who have served this school district and all the community and students and everybody so well, and particularly have been extremely supportive to the board of directors. And I know you've had some other celebrations already, and I believe you're getting flowers and other things, but I know that the board publicly wanted to say thank you. So I'll say a little bit more, but why don't I turn it over to Dr. Baker, and then if we want to just go around and.
Well, we started celebrating yesterday. Priscilla was, is not with us. She's in Hawaii, or Priscilla would have been with us yesterday also when we took Eliana out for lunch. And we had a small celebration at that time at Angelica's to recognize all the efforts and hard work she's done for the last 12 years in the district. 2 years as an interpreter, translator, and then 10 years as working with the superintendent. So it's been an amazing time for Eliana. She's kind of grown up here in the Redwood City School District. Not only was she born in the North Fair Oaks area and went through Redwood City schools, but professionally, she's grown up here in the district. And then today we had cake and flowers, and they're hot Cheetos, right? I didn't know this, and I didn't know this about her. She's really into hot, spicy food. So it was hot Cheetos and jalapenos. And what was the other one?
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce and the Funyuns.
Yeah.
And so that was all decorated upstairs with those different types of treats. And then there was a chocolate cake and there were flowers and, signs on the wall. We're really going to miss her. I will really miss her as a superintendent who she works very closely with me. And we just, sorry to see her go, but at the same time, she's moving on professionally, which is really great to hear when someone has that opportunity and has put in a lot of effort and perfection in the work that they're doing now and has been recognized by another entity who definitely is moving her in a different pathway. Thank you, Will. But I'm very happy for her, but it's been a wonderful time having her work for the Redwood City School District and also being in the position that she's in, working very closely with the superintendent and then all the board members. So for her years of working with us, we already gave you a little gift yesterday, but this is just a certificate to say in recognition of 12 years of service to the Redwood City School District. Thank you for your hardworking, dedicated, committed work ethic to the superintendent, staff, and families of the district.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Not the big send off that we had down the hall. We tried to take a picture, but with COVID, we're all masked and we were all on in the stairwell, and we still, I think it was kind of hard, right? Did it come out?
It did.
It did?
Yeah.
So who would like to go next?
May I?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Eliana, thank you so much for your contribution to the Redwood City School District. I am so proud to see that you not only went through our schools, but came back to help other students. You were a real big asset to the administration. I really appreciate the fact that you're bilingual and that you just were always learning and taking on more responsibility. I know sometimes things were a little stressful, but you just thrived. And I am so glad to see that you are moving on professionally as well. It is a big loss for us, but not to worry. I see Evelyn is ready to take on the challenge and like you grow in the district, but you really were the first person that could really help me with a lot of the parent questions, and it took off a big load off my plate. So I really appreciate all the work that you've done for us and wish you only the best in your trajectory and your career goals. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and keep in touch.
We'll do Priscilla afterwards.
Yeah, I'll echo everyone's thanks. Ellie, thanks for just on a personal note, just helping me get up to speed here, with just everything that is part of being on the school board and seeing the school board operate. I really appreciate all that help, whether it's, helping me get whatever the forms are filed that need to be there, and then just all the operations here. I really appreciate it. Best of luck. It sounds like an exciting new opportunity, so congratulations.
I'll echo that too, because I was going to say, even though I've been on the board for a while now, you were really instrumental in helping me get up to speed and staying on top of everything that I needed to know. And enrolling me in masters in governance, like all that stuff, the back end stuff that you do, I really appreciate. And your attention to detail is incredible. And I think it's been a huge asset to the district and to the superintendent and the board with all of the responsibilities that you have. And I know it's been stressful, but I do want to say you have an incredible way of just your demeanor stays calm when you're stressed. When you have a lot on your plate, you still are you're even keeled. And I appreciate that too. So best of luck. Will's lucky to have you. And we'll miss you here, but I'll see you on Facebook.
So, both as a school board member, but then also just as an individual, as a colleague, it's been amazing watching you grow up in our district. And, from a student, as John said, and then I've been on the board the whole time from the beginning when you came on, and just watching you grow into the position and really come into your own professionally. It's been a real honor and a privilege to be a part of that. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Like Janet said, all the behind the scenes stuff. Anytime we need a reimbursement form or we need to sign up for a CSBA event or whatever, you're always right there. You've been so great at getting out all the materials on the agenda online. I mean, it's a huge production for every board meeting. And you're now we've moved to board docs. What I was going to say is you also then moved us over to board docs. And I mean, just like really taken on so much responsibility to really kind of keep the engine running, which, the board is making a lot of decisions for the district, and you've helped support the backbone of that, and really, really appreciate it. We're going to miss you. We know that Evelyn will come into the job as well, and we're so happy to have you, Evelyn, join us. And I just wish you all the best, Eliana, and I hope you stay in touch. I really want to continue to hear how you're doing professionally and personally and all of that. So best of luck to you.
And then for me, of course, I've only gotten to know you in the last 4 years. But I do, actually, even prior to the 4 years, as a parent of the Redwood City School District, I remember when you first started, I made the comment to someone, I forget who. I said, who is the new translator? Because your message came across super clear, perfect Spanish, which I am very proud of. And so that's when I learned it was Eliana. I didn't know who you were until 4 years ago. And then again, just like everybody's saying, you kind of kept us on our toes. You make sure, you send us a text, you send us an email, you send us a reminder on top of all your work. And I personally do know that you do a lot behind the scenes, that maybe it just seems very, now we have the agenda here, but there is a lot of work. I mean, as a superintendent assistant, you do have to teamwork with a whole bunch of departments. You need to make sure that all the stuff is on time. You need to follow through with a whole bunch of departments. So I'm sure that they are going to miss you just as much as I personally will too. And again, I'm sure, to give Evelyn some credit, I'm sure you're training her very well. But I do want to say personally that there are a lot of the times when it's hard to, people with your work ethics, it's kind of hard to find, right? We do have them, but not everybody is the same. So that I will definitely miss. So I really want to thank you very, very much. And good luck.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to thank everyone for all the nice things that have been said for the last few days. It's been a true honor working with the Redwood City School District. As a student, I went to Fair Oaks, Taft, Garfield, Kennedy Middle School. And I don't know if many of you know this, but I didn't speak English. And I learned to speak English starting 4th grade. And the teachers that helped me learn English and just excel academically made a huge impact in my life. And a lot of them obviously were Redwood City School District teachers. I always had a high regard for them, even as a kid, because, you know, you're navigating, even though I was born and raised here in Redwood City, North Fair Oaks. But at home, my mom and my grandparents always instilled in us the importance of knowing our native tongue. So Spanish was always a must at home. Either if we speak Spanish or we wrote it, it had to be a must. So now working with the Redwood City School District, and actually the first few years that I started working for the Redwood City School District, I got to work with some of my former teachers. So I just didn't get that knowledge as a student, but working professionally with them gave me also a different experience with them and just learning from them professionally. It just wasn't the teachers. I mean, it was the school board, Superintendent Baker, also Superintendent Christensen at the time, our attorneys, County Counsel, DWK, Janet Mueller. I know she's on the call tonight. Been instrumental. I mean, they have been available for any questions, and I think it has been a team effort and just knowing how to connect with people and who to go to answer questions. So I want to say thank you to everybody from custodians, from staff members, CNS, everybody here at the district office. Thank you so much for making my time here at Redwood City so special. And it's been an honor working with you guys. So thank you so much.
So we all know that Priscilla this is her last board meeting, and this is her last work day, actually. Well, no, tomorrow is the last work day. Yeah, it's tomorrow is the last work day for her. Priscilla came in at a difficult time, as you all were aware of our situation prior to Priscilla coming in, and she worked very closely, she and Liz. How I got to know Priscilla was that she and Liz worked closely because they used to come in and oversee our LCAP, how it was being created, making sure that we were following the guidelines correctly. And when the position became available, we had another CBO a while back, which I think Maria is probably the only board member. Raul Parangao. Okay, but she worked the longest. Maria was here from the beginning with him. That's the direction I was going. And Raul called me up and said, I see you have a CBO position available. And I know somebody who would really like to apply, but is there an internal candidate? And I said, no, there's no internal candidate. We do have people that, you know, as Priscilla has also said, that are capable but don't want the job. Are very capable, but these individuals feel that that's not for them. And when you're in the position, and even not being in the position, I can understand why. But talk to Priscilla, and I think, oh no, Raul called you, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and said, no, there is no internal candidate. He said, apply. And she was definitely the first one. As soon as I knew she was going to apply, I know I wanted her. And working at the county office, I know they were not happy, especially, who is the CBO that left, Priscilla?
Denise Porterfield.
Yeah, Denise Porterfield didn't like it when I walked into a superintendent's meeting. I said, she was presenting and she goes, you took Priscilla. And I go, I didn't take anyone. She applied for the job. So Priscilla came in during a time, Mike, when we knew that the budget was not going in the right direction. We had an interim for a while who was the previous superintendent of Sequoia Union High School District, Jim Leonidas, who at one time was a CBO. And he and I started at Garfield together years ago. And so I asked Jim to come in, and then Jim, while we waited and we found Priscilla, Jim looked at the books and he says, you know, there's a problem here, don't you? And I go, uh-huh. He goes, you need to do something about this, or else county office is going to come in and do their work, and you're going to have to abide by it, and the board's not going to be able to say anything. So I listened, and then Priscilla also knew this coming in as she looked at the books and said, yeah. So I told her what we were going to do. And that's when we started the restructuring of the district. And that's when we closed 4 schools. So she's gone through all that. Plus, we were told for years that we were not going to be basic aid. When I stepped into the position, the person who was in her position at that time told us it wasn't going to be for another 10 or 12 years. Priscilla came in and said, that's not right. You're going to be basic aid really soon. And so she started that process and making sure that we were going to go in that direction. Plus, she, even before she leaves, as you know, she's still definitely fighting for us to get the 2.4 million that we had to give up. And she's had our attorneys on it, and she's also met with California Department of Ed, financial people, and we're going after it still. We're still going after it. And she has just been a person who is really easy to work with. And as you all know, we understand the budget really easily now compared to what we had previously. And I know Rick is not on the call, but I will see him tomorrow morning because he has a meeting with me before he has a meeting with you. And he understands what he's walking into and what shoes he has to fill. And so, Priscilla, you've done an amazing job. And I will truly miss you. You're the first CBO I've worked with since Raul that really the relationship really clicked, and I really understood what was going on and listened very carefully. And if I still didn't get it, you explained it a different way for me, because the budget, the way it works in the school systems are entirely different from other budgets. I mean, my brother who's in finance says this is crazy when he looks at a budget. He says, there's no way would we do this. So I will truly miss you. And I wanted to, did you get the flowers? Did the flowers arrive?
Not yet. It's still
Oh, no.
going through the ocean.
No, they should have been there. All right. They're swimming through the, okay. Well, there are flowers coming, and let me know if you don't get, they're supposed to be there today.
Oh,
I checked before the board meeting and they hadn't arrived. I hadn't gotten the text yet.
thank you though.
But they should, I bet they should have been there early. No, but Priscilla, you will certainly be missed, and I admire you so much for your knowledge and your expertise in the budget arena, and for all the assistance you have given not only myself but other colleagues here in the district office. And I think I can talk for both Wendy and for Liz. They will both miss you also immensely. I know you're set in Hawaii, but she did say she'd help us out if we were in a crunch. She did.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. I wish you the best of luck. I really do.
Thank
Who's next?
I like to go next. Following up on that, John is right. We went during our tenure, John and I have been together, and we went from a CBO that wouldn't give you the reports or tell you which end was up and confuse you more than anything, to Raul and then you, who made it just so easy. When you ask for something, you get it. And as he said, we were under the impression that we were not going to be community funded probably ever. And then you came in and you just got right to it, and I really appreciate your focus on having the system be student-centered and really going above and beyond. You always research what the latest bill is going through, where is it, what is the updates, what's the impact on us, and provide us with a good overview of what the district finances are. And as John said, you're leaving some big shoes to fill. So I'm glad that you're going to be around in case Rick needs a little help here and there. And, also through the pandemic, it's been extremely difficult, and you have made it work and kept us going in the right direction. And personally, I think that you also have this very, like Ellie, very calm demeanor. And, when things were like really stressful, you were just, well, let's see, and go to the next piece and I'll fix that right back. And so I really appreciate all you have done for our district. Your network of knowledge and knowledge are just so vast. And again, thank you for all you've done for this district. And I hope that you will continue to help us out. And I wish you the best in Hawaii and wherever else you are. Keep in touch.
Thank you. I will, Maria, thanks.
I can't really top everything that's been said already. It's I agree 100%. It's remarkable how well you're able to present the budget to us, both the where things are working well and where there are pitfalls, and make it so that it's very understandable. It is big shoes indeed that you're leaving to be filled, and so thank you so much. I think you might be the only one that I haven't actually met in person. So somehow it feels fitting that it's a virtual farewell as well, but maybe that'll change at some point in the future. If you ever find your way back here, we can grab a coffee or something, as opposed to the virtual coffees that we've had when you've explaining the budget to me. So, but thank you very much, and best of luck.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll go next. So, Priscilla, at the time that you came into the district, it was hard times for us. And you having been at the county office already and being so familiar with our district and our budget gave me such peace of mind knowing that we were going to be in good hands even before I got to know you. And I will just say that your depth and breadth of knowledge is invaluable. Has been invaluable to our district. And like Maria said, your calm demeanor when it feels like the ship is sinking and it's just like, well, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn this way and we'll head that direction and it will be fine. And it is fine. It has been fine. It's been good. And you've taken good care of us and kept us on the right path. And I appreciate that so much and just wish you best of luck and aloha.
Mahalo, thank you.
Yeah, and Priscilla, I also want to say thank you so much. And I won't recap everything that my colleagues said. I totally agree with 100% what they said. And I just wanted to say, I really appreciate that anytime I had a question, were such a quick responder. And I think we all had we have such confidence in the numbers that you're presenting. And you do such a good job of explaining them for a layperson to understand. And not everybody can do that. So thank you so much for just helping us through, as Janet just said, some really hard times, and we've come out strong and we're ready for the next battle in terms of the next financing battle. And I think you've set us up quite well. And I know you've been working closely with Rick and you'll continue to support us as we move forward. And I also just want to say that I think similar to what others have said, you just are, such a nice person and so easy to get along with. And again, not every CBO is like that. And you really were able to work with all departments, keep the student focused numbers. And anytime we were like, let's see if we can sort of figure this out, you'd get creative with us and try to help us figure out how to do it with the budget that we had. So again, thank you. And I wish you all the best. I hope you get some good family time and beach time and relax. And wherever you land, professionally or personally, I just wish you all the best and aloha as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa.
And again, a lot of the things that I want to say have already been said by my colleagues. I do want to say that I recall meeting with you for the first time when I first came on board. And again, I met you in your office and you explained the budget so thoroughly that I almost left even thinking like, did I get this right? So I really appreciate, again, the way you explain the budget, which is again, very important. And again, like everyone has said at the time that you came into this district. So I do really appreciate, and I am sure your team will very much miss you. But again, I wish you the best of luck and your retirement and enjoy life because again, I've heard it's the best life after this. So best
Thank
luck.
you.
Mhm.
So is there someone else? So,
No, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So also, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, to the board, to especially to Dr. Baker. You know, this is such an amazing journey for me. I remember when I was first interviewed by Dennis and Trustee Hillary and John. It's like I was wondering how I could manage or how could I build relationship with the Redwood City community. And through the years, I felt that we really have an amazing working relationship, that you have, I was able to, my feeling was that I was able to earn your trust and confidence, not for the board and also for my colleagues and or on the department. And also, it's such a privilege to be working with the Redwood City community. So when like you mentioned, when I first joined the district, we are in difficult situation when we're closing schools. But during that time, I felt really inspired. So because when we are closing schools, it's a very, very difficult decision. It was so emotional. There's a lot of work behind the scene. But it was then when I truly know who the people I'm working with. So I found out like the members of the board, the cabinet, the superintendent, they have the true, sincere passion to help all of the students in Redwood City School District. There's no hidden agenda. You can just see the desire to help, desire to make things better. So I felt really proud that I joined the Redwood City School District, knowing that the people that I'm going to be working with are so sincere and so passionate and just wanted the best for the students in the school district. So I thought I'm in the right place. You know, it's really awesome to be working with people that have that commitment. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity to work for the district. And also it's really such a privilege to be working with each one of you. Um, my background has always been like for County Office of Education. So I've worked for Alameda County Office of Ed, Marin County Office of Ed, San Mateo. And so it's when I'm working for school district that I'm truly feeling that I am able to do more, not only for the students indirectly by managing the resources that would help them for educational program, but I find it really rewarding, not just what I do at the county office where it's just all fiscal oversight, advisory services. It's when you are at the district level that you really find you know, like the true experience of helping out the community. And hopefully I was able to do that during my tenure with the district. So thank you so much for the opportunity again. I will continue to get in touch. I look forward to more success with the district. And I'll be watching from a distance. You know, it's like when a tourist, when you visit a country, you will always remember that place and you'll be happy with what will be going on with that district. So Redwood City School District and the city itself became part of me. And so I will continue to be looking forward to all the future success. I know there's a lot of things that are exciting to happen with the school district, with all the developments, with the potentials of the city itself and the district. So I look forward to watching more success for the community and for the district. So thank you so much. It's really an honor. It's really a privilege to be working with all of you. I am retiring from this district with so much sense of fulfillment and joy that I'm ending my career in from Redwood City School District. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And now on to 6.1, Measure T Bond Program Progress Update.
Let me try to follow that. All righty, you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So updates on the overall program project progress are highlighted in yellow, changes from the last update. So Garfield, we were able to add a rear parking lot project, and Taft construction is now complete and we're working on DSA certification.
Will, can you make it just a little bigger? I think it just seems a little blurry.
That help?
Thank you.
And so here at Garfield, we were able to add the rear parking lot project. I'll be showing you guys some photos of that shortly. And then at Taft, the new construction and modernization project construction is complete, and we're working through the final stages of the punch list, working on getting DSA certification on the project. Moving on to a photo slideshow. I'm trying to make this full screen. So Garfield School, as you can see, we're getting close to the finish. Really exciting time. This is a side view that shows kind of one of the architectural lunch shelters built into the new classroom building. This is the view from the back of the new two-story classroom building. And then an overhead view, you can see on the left side the prep work that's been done for the new rear parking lot. So more to come on that soon. Moving on to Orion Alternative School. This is the view of the new admin up front from Avenue Del Oro. Side view. And then a rear view. You can see majority of construction is complete and we're finishing up site work. Taft School. A view from 10th Avenue. The interior and courtyard area. And then the completed parking lot area. 601 James Avenue, the maintenance yard. EV bus chargers are completed. Angle of some of the EV bus utility. Hoover School, I believe they're calling this Husky Hill Outdoor Learning Court. Construction is now complete. At Roosevelt School, we called this the slope stabilization project. There were some like concrete steps on the sides of the staircase that were being used and were somewhat a safety hazard. So we were able to clean those areas up, landscape. Kennedy School, Makerspace project, construction's in progress. There on the left is what's called a nano wall that can open up and allow the two classroom spaces to be combined. Makerspace, aka STEAM classroom. Kennedy, the new garden, right there near Goodwin. Our security camera intrusion and energy management system. couple pictures of some of the progress. Adelante Selby Schools, kinder play structure, full play structure on the right, and then 6 new swings on the left side. Clifford School, new kinder play structure. And then the Clifford School covered walkway. This is up between the two-story classroom buildings. That was my last photo. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to sharing a video?
No, thanks.
Okay. And so Elisa got Dawn and I connected to an energy student that came along with us on a maintenance project and basically studied and learned about the solar systems that we built at 4 different campuses within the school district. And she made an appreciation and educational video that I wanted to share. So here we go.
My name is Natalie, and I'm here to tell you more about Redwood City's recent efforts to consume more sustainable sources of energy. The shift to more sustainable sources of energy is an important topic, as energy is used everywhere: transportation, construction, powering factories and businesses, and so much more. It is also one of the largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions, with the combustion of fossil fuels contributing to around 74% of total carbon emissions in the United States. Redwood City itself releases around 600,000 metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere annually. While this is only around 0.0001% of the United States' annual carbon dioxide emissions, any actions we take to reduce our emissions will have an impact. Solar power is a source of sustainable energy and an important tool in reducing our carbon footprint. However, the process of converting the sun's energy into energy that can be used by buildings is complex. Solar panels convert light or photons into electricity or voltage. Because of this, solar cells are also called photovoltaic or PV cells. Solar panels produce direct current or DC, while most electronic devices and buildings require alternate current or AC. Inverters are then needed to convert DC to AC. Different types of solar panels require different types of inverters. String arrays are when modules of solar cells are connected into a string of panels. Large inverters or string inverters. There is additionally another type of inverter, a microinverter, which is a small inverter that attaches to the underneath of the solar panel and immediately converts energy to AC. So there's less dissipation, and less energy is lost while it is flowing through the transmission line. In our project, I connected with Donald Diaz, Redwood City School District's Director of Bond Construction, and Will Robertson, consultant for the Redwood City School District. They have been working on a project to install and manage solar panels in a Redwood City School District site. This is funded by Prop 39 from the California Clean Energy Tax Act, which gives up to $1.7 billion over 5 years to schools looking to increase their energy efficiency and switch to clean energy, starting from 2013 to 2019. With Prop 39 funding, the Redwood City School District installs solar panels on 4 sites: the district office, Adelante Selby Spanish American School, Roosevelt Middle School, and Clifford Elementary School. These sites include several different types of solar panel installations, including a roof-mounted system, a parking lot canopy, a blacktop canopy, as well as hillside solar. All of these solar panel setups can easily be seen. There are around 400 to 600 panels per site. Installing solar panels takes a lot of work. Factors such as wind, the direction of the panel, space, distance from the electrical system, meter location, and the current energy efficiency of the site all need to be taken into consideration. The solar panels have a 25-year lifespan of power production. However, each year, the panels produce 95% of what they produce for free. This is because exposure to UV rays more dioxide to form on the panel surface, producing emission. Additionally, natural weather events further contribute to the radiation, as seen by the reduction in the efficiency of the panel set. Mr. Robertson and Mr. Diaz were working on maintenance for the solar panels. They've noticed a drop in the efficiency of the panels, and after investigating, they discovered that there were a few damaged modules and one underperforming inverter, looking at 50% of its capacity. Additionally, module soiling or the buildup of dust, dirt, or leaves on the panels occurred in the late summer and early fall. This is an annual occurrence and can be mitigated either by rain, which unfortunately has become less frequent, or recommended. However, even with the decreased performance of the panels and the amount of effort needed to maintain them, over the course of only 1 year, the district already saved around $132,600 and offset approximately 87% of the district's consumption in the second year. That's equivalent to offsetting carbon emissions according to the passenger vehicles in 1 year. Funding from Prop 39 has recently passed, so the district is looking for funding from another grant as for possible renewal of property. It's important that projects like these continue to be funded, as these are the types of projects. Thank you to Mr. Diaz and Mr. Robinson for letting us know the sites and learn more about your work in sustainability. And thanks for watching.
Thank you
Good
so
job.
much for sharing that. And I just want to remind the board, Natalie was a student at North Star, and I connected with her because Principal Sarah Shackle connected me with Natalie when she was in 7th grade, because she showed such an interest in climate. And she's the one who helped rally students for different things. And I'm not sure, she may be what, a junior or a senior at Carmont?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So anyway, she continues to perform well. I think we prepared her well for high school, and clearly she understood a lot of what you guys were presenting to her. So that's amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, it was really impressive. She was very sharp and it was a great opportunity, Elisa. So thank you for connecting us. And I set it up with subtitles in the case that you guys weren't able to hear.
Yeah.
I had my speakers volume maxed out, but I know it was pretty quiet. So I'm going to forward the YouTube link to all of you guys following this so that you can watch it again if you weren't able to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that wraps up my bond program update unless anyone has any additional questions. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Can I please get a motion to approve the bond program consent items?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson. Aye. Vice President Marquez,
Aye.
President Diaz-Solocum.
Hi.
Thank you. Item 8, public hearing. 8.1, public hearing, authorized conveyance of public utility easement to Pacific Gas and Electric Company. At this time, the public hearing is now open.
And I did want to mention, because I asked this question, I don't know if others of you asked it, that this particular conveyance of the easement is referenced in the 9.1, because I was just asking where it was. I had, so anyway, in case you're wondering.
No, we have nobody from the public.
Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. Moving on to item 9, bond program action items. 9.1, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 41, resolution authorizing conveyance of a public utility easement to Pacific Gas and Electric Company.
Are there any questions from anyone?
Yes, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Vice President Marquez,
Aye.
President Diaz-Solom.
Aye.
9.2, recommendation regarding approval of new buildings, modernization and site work project bid packet B, change order number 5 for Garfield Community School with MK Pipelines and adoption of resolution 42. Can I
I'll make
please-
a motion to approve.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Vice President Marquez,
Aye.
President Diaz-Solom.
Aye.
9.3, recommendation regarding approval of new buildings, modernization and site work project change order number 8 for Garfield School with Broden Builders and adoption of resolution 43. Any questions? If not, can I please get a motion to approve 9.3?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Vice President Marquez,
Aye.
President Diaz-Solom.
Aye.
Discussion items, 10.1, discussion of the control accountability plan, LCAP federal addendum for 22-23.
Yes, did you want to go ahead? You have, I think, a quick slideshow.
Never, nobody can.
So, this is some more information about funding, federal funding in this case, and how it is part of our.
Thank you. Thank you before I was all the way through. I actually was going to start by saying, next time I'm going to make this into a movie. And I'm going to find that young woman and ask her to illustrate it for me. And it will be a lot more entertaining than some more slides. And I want to thank Leslie Daniele, who put this together in the past couple of days to give you, some background information to go along with the plan that was in the board packet. So this is information about the additional funding that we received from the federal funding, the title funding, and how that, excuse me, is meant to enhance and kind of extend the impact of the LCAP and have it be one large plan. So that's what this is here. It's to meet our responsibility to, again, show how we're using the funding and bring that transparency forward to you. So it is, the federal addendum gives you information about how we plan to spend our Title I, II, III, and IV funding. There's a narrative for each of the proposed expenditure and funding sources. And this plan must be completed and submitted to the CDE before we actually are allocated the funding. So the information that we have right now is based on an estimate, based on the numbers of students that we believe generate the funding. But until they actually read this and do the final calculations, that funding may change a little bit. So we anticipate our projected financial impact, our income will be $1,854,681 to be allocated in a variety of different ways. And we'll just give you a brief overview of that. Some of this information is already, or some of this funding is already included in the LCAP because we do want to have this be one large program, but there are some additional kind of hold asides in order to be able to spend this funding going forward. So some of this funding is allocated directly to the sites for Title I, and there is an amount that's kept back, and then the rest of the titles are district operated. Some of the funding also goes to the public school, to the private schools. And all of that can be information that, if you are interested in seeing that exact information, that will go forward in the consolidated application. We call it the CON app, and that will be finalized probably the end around August. It's a little bit later this year than it was last year. So all of these, I'm not going to read all of this, but these are supplemental services that are funded by the title programs. And again, a lot of this you'll see similar to what's in the LCAP because again, it is meant to be, you know, a integrated program. Much of the funding from the Title I and the Title II funding is in the LCAP to support our TOSAs. Their salaries are primarily based in title funding, but it's also used for professional development, for additional support materials, for family engagement, family strategies. And so again, what isn't being funded right now in the LCAP, there is this additional funding as needs come up that we have this funding that can be allocated to that. So Title I, this again, there's just a background information that it's based on our low-income count, our low-income student count. And again, there's a set aside for the district and the majority of the funding goes out to the schools based on their count of low-income students. These are the kinds of things that are applicable to the Title I funding. Professional development out of Title II. And again, much of this now is being spent on our TOSAs and on professional development, some stipends and trainings for our teachers. Title III, as you know, we have one of our goals in the LCAP is all about our English learners. And so a lot of this funding is already embedded in the Title III funding in the LCAP, particularly in support of our newcomer program and some additional materials that we're using for the summer school program that we have going and that we'll be purchasing for the coming year. And then some of our bilingual assistants, our newcomer assistants are also funded out of our Title III funding. And Title IV is kind of a catch-all amount of funding. It's not a lot, but it's meant to, again, look at how do we provide that well-rounded education. So it's additional PD, it can be additional materials. It can be used for some technology and some additional training opportunities. Any questions? Wanted to see how fast I could say all that.
Are there any questions? No, thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you.
Item 10.2, discussion of draft resolution ordering a school bond election on November 8th, 2022.
So we have with us tonight Janet Mueller, our attorney from DWK, and also Blake Boehm, who is from KNN. Janet's going to go over the draft resolution, which you all received. And I know there were some questions, and Mike, I think I answered your questions. So they're fine. And thank you, Janet, for the information. I went to Janet to make sure I had the right information to get back to you. But this is a time to have a discussion on this resolution. Then also, if there anything that you want to bring forward of maybe a change or correction, this is time to ask Janet or even Blake. And then we will bring this back on August 12th. It will no longer be a draft, but it will be an adopted resolution for us to move forward with GeoBonds. So this is our time we have the experts with us here to assist us in any manner moving forward with this resolution prior to its adoption on August 12th. Yeah, August 10th. Yes, prior to it has to be in by August 12th. I've got all those dates in my written down to make sure they get there because you miss a date and it's a. So are there, Janet, would you like to start us out with a discussion?
I would be very happy to. So good evening, everyone. Good to see you. This is a follow-on to a presentation that the consulting group made at the last meeting. I was unfortunately not here. A colleague stood in for me, but the purpose of that was to kind of get everybody ready as far as preparing for a ballot measure and what that was going to look like and what information we were going to be pulling together post-survey to start really pulling together what this follow-on school bond measure might look like. So tonight is the opportunity to sort of see the work of the consulting team trying to pull together the financial parameters, sort of some of the survey data, the bond project list, working with the facilities team, the 75-word ballot summary, which is, as you probably know, is perhaps the only information that voters might see about the proposed measure, and to sort of bring it all into a form that you'll use on August 10th to call for the measure and file it with the registrar of voters. So there's a base resolution. It's the first 4 or 5 pages. It's got a lot of information in it. A lot of it is kind of technical information related to calling an election. Then you have the attachments, and the first one is the 75-word summary, which I think is the wisdom of the team as far as bringing together all these different requirements, all compressed into a very short 75 words. A full ballot text, the full statement of the measure that will get printed in the ballot pamphlet that includes that very important bond project list, what we intend to do with the revenue, and obviously the cornerstone piece of what our plans are, and it should reflect our plans. And then finally, the tax rate statement, which Blake has prepared, which advises voters as far as what this measure will cost the taxpayers at different points in time, as well as what the total debt service will look like based on the assumptions and parameters that we've used in sizing the $298 million measure. So as Dr. Baker mentioned, we'll bring this back to you on the 10th for approval. And this is really an opportunity for open discussion, questions, comments, things that you might feel could be better phrased or framed, because we have plenty of opportunity at this point to make some of those adjustments before we bring back the final document.
Are there any questions?
So Janet and I sit on the committee, so I know I had an opportunity to actually provide comments already. And thank you, Janet, for incorporating those various comments. I think it looks really, really good. I did have one, I think, just question for the board. And we don't necessarily have to decide tonight, but I think we'll have to give feedback to Dr. Baker and Janet before August 10th. If you look at page 6 on Exhibit A, the ballot language, so that 75-word ballot language, we had, I think earlier the board had a conversation. Do we say levying 2.4 cents per $100 of assessed value, or say $24 per $100,000 of assessed value? Is the word count the same on those, and it's just a matter of how we want to express it, or was there some reason to do the cents per 100 instead? Because I think we had landed on wanting to say $24 per 100,000, but it's open. I mean, this is a draft and this is a conversation. So that was just the one thing that stuck out to me that we had talked about previously. So I don't know, Janet, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my thoughts. So, a couple of years ago, and it's post, Measure T. So the law shifted a little bit as to what you had to tell voters in the 75 words. You didn't used to have to express the tax rate at all. We put the tax rate information in the tax rate statement, but the 75-word summary didn't have to have that information. So that's why it may look a little different and a little bit more, complex to read. And I think for the prevailing wisdom is the tax rate statement is required when you express a tax rate to express it as cents per 100. And we have done both in the tax rate statement. We express it as cents per 100 and dollars per 100,000. I do think people have maybe an easier time doing that math. At least I do when it's, dollars per 100,000. But I think we have generally in this industry landed on the fact that a tax rate for purposes of a bond measure is technically to be expressed as cents per 100. So that was, I think, that may have been a change from, I don't know if both were tested in the survey, can't quite recall that like you may remember, but it was a little bit of a shift, I think, from what the starting assumptions were as far as how we would express it. Of course, when you educate voters about the measure and you communicate and you help them understand how to calculate what they might pay, we can provide all that kind of information. We can express it as the dollars per 100,000 as well. But I think in the legal document, we're best leaving it as cents per 100.
Thank you for that additional explanation. Appreciate that. And I do note on page 13, that is where we talk about $24 per 100,000 in a couple of places. So.
Yeah, I thought the ballot label is of course very terse, so that there's not much to say there, but I thought the project list, which is what we were told to focus in on a lot, it covered all the things that I could think of. And the question I'd asked was, would this allow for all the projects that we use Measure T funds for? Would there be any project there that wouldn't be included in that project list? And the answer was no, everything that we did for Measure T. And I thought that seems like it's a pretty complete project list. So yeah, I didn't have any other changes to propose in there.
I just have one quick question on page 9 where the school sites are all listed. It includes the Allerton Street site. And I remember having that conversation in our subcommittee meeting. I just noted that it doesn't have the Granger Way site. And I don't know if that was an oversight or if that's intentional.
Janet.
So, yeah, so the Granger Way site is the former Adelante School. That's right?
correct.
Okay.
The private school.
Well, so a couple of thoughts about that. So that's under a fairly long-term lease. And that lease is going to continue on, for probably honestly the period during which construction proceeds would be expended. We wouldn't use tax exempt bond proceeds to improve a privately leased site. And as far as I recall, the tenant there has all the obligations to maintain that site. So unlike, for example, the sites where your charter schools are located, where we have an obligation to provide facilities that are reasonably equivalent in condition to our other school sites, we have no such relationship to our private school tenant. So we didn't include it, I think based on just there being no belief that there's a plan to do anything at that site, nor would we, maybe be doing anything out there anyway over the period of the current lease.
Okay, that makes sense because the
yeah.
lease is longer than the one that's on the Allerton.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And I don't have any questions. How about you, Maria?
No, I think my questions have been answered. Thank you.
And Blake, did you want to say anything moving forward with this?
I mean, I don't think so. This has been an ongoing conversation. I think both Elisa and Janet have done a great job, representing the board through the course of our conversations. And so it really does give our team a nice advantage, if you will, to really try and encompass a thoughtful, ballot document for this first reading, I think as we're calling it. But it really has put forth a lot of thought, not just from the consulting team, but from both Elisa and Janet, and of course you, Dr. Baker. So, unless there's a finance specific question that I can help answer, I don't really have anything to add at this point, John.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I just want to publicly say thank you both to Blake and Janet. We really appreciate working with you. You're all very thorough and super knowledgeable and really help us through this process, which is not, directly in our normal sphere of what we're confident about. So thank you very much for all that you do.
You're welcome. Before I drop off, I do want to just acknowledge and thank Eliana and Priscilla. I was there listening to your tribute to them, and they have been extraordinary to work with, and I'll miss you both very much. And I thank you so much for the time and the interactions that we've had.
It's hard to think that you both won't be here. I feel like we just got Priscilla, and even though I know it wasn't just the other day, but it sounds like an enjoyable time. And Eliana, you sent me a note, and you're such a sweet, amazing person, and I could hear that in every person's comments that they said. And I won't repeat anything, but you'll be missed, I know, by many, including myself.
All right, so this will come back on August 10th, and we'll move forward. That's the direction I'm getting right now. All right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
both.
Very good.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Item 11, consent items. Can I please get a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
aye.
Thank you. Action items 12.1, recommendation regarding approval of the Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP for 2022-23. Are there any questions?
Questions? We've ag- just-
I will make a motion to approve the LCAP. In honor of Liz Wolf.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Roll call.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
12.2, recommendation regarding approval of local control funding formula, LCFF, budget overview for parents.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for making the updates. I think it explains it very well, and I appreciate Priscilla. Oh, thank you, Priscilla, for adding the special ed and the other in there. I thought that was really good. I think it's a better explanation of how we spend the money, and I think parents will appreciate that. So thank you.
And with that, can I get a motion to approve 12.2?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
Item 12.3, recommendation regarding approval of 2022-23 proposed budget for Redwood City School District.
Thank you. I would like to ask if there are any questions too, but I also wanted to point out that the format that you were seeing here in the SACs is different from what you have been seeing. And that's because this is the first time that the State Department of Education implemented a web-based SACs system. So it looks weird, like the certification, it's not cleaned up yet in terms of formatting, but it's the same information that you're getting with all this time with the supplemental information for the criterion and standards. And as you can see on the last few pages that the budget report passed all the State Board of Education criteria and standards.
Great, thank you. And if there are no comments or questions, can I please get a motion to approve 12.3?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
Item 12.4, recommendation regarding adoption of 2022-23 statement of reasons for reserved and excess of the minimum state recommended level. Any questions? Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
Item 12.5, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 44, San Mateo County Office of Education authorized signatures.
For our new CBO.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
Item 12.6, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 45, bank signatures, Sequoia Federal Credit Union.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Lawson,
Aye.
vice president Marcus,
Aye.
president Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
Okay. Item 12.7, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 46, bank signatures, Tri-County Bank. Can I please get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Vice President Marcus.
Aye.
President Diaz-Solom.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 12.8, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 47, bank signatures, Wells Fargo Bank.
I'll make a
I'll
motion
move.
to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Vice President Marcus.
Aye.
President Diaz-Solom.
Aye.
Item 12.9, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 48, resolution calling for an elections to be held on November 8th, 2022 for the election of 2 members of the governing board.
Questions? I don't think so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Vice President Marcus.
Aye.
President Diaz-Solom.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 13, Board and Superintendent reports. 13.1, report from board members and superintendent.
I have nothing to report.
I have nothing.
Yeah, me neither.
I just read a really long board packet this week. As we all did.
Yeah, I don't have nothing to report either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Really
Okay, item 14, information, 14.1, contract update information on credit card summary. Are there any questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Item 12.2, universal pre-kindergarten planning template.
And that's Ms. Wolf, and she has something for you.
So, as you know, as you've been hearing, I'm sure that there are a number of additional new initiatives from the governor. And one is early childhood and adding more opportunities for kids to be in school as well as to be on the school campus for longer periods of time. And so this plan puts both of those together into our, it's called many things. It's called, here it's called the Transitional Kindergarten Plan, but officially it's the Universal Pre-K and also known as the Universal TK Plan because they're all meant to be combined and connected. So the goal is that by 2025, 2026, all 4-year-olds will be enrolled in TK classrooms. And that starting next year in the 2022-23 school year, all TK students will be provided with the opportunity to be on campus for 9 hours each day from 8 in the morning until 5. And this is meant to provide support to families, to working families. And you heard about this when we talked about the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant, which was part of this as well. Couldn't just be one plan, it had to be a bunch of different plans, but they're all meant to be connected. And so there's a lot of overlap. And the recommendation for us was a very strong recommendation working with our partners in the San Mateo County Office of Education, is that we look at how we can connect the TK program with the existing pre-K programs on site to provide those wraparound services in a fairly seamless way. So there's a little bit of information about that as well. So this is just a graphic that shows the change in the TK eligibility, adding 2 more months of children turning 4 each year until all 4-year-olds are served. The idea behind that being as more 4-year-olds are served out of the pre-K program, that the pre-K program will start serving even younger children and possibly serve 2- and 3-year-olds over time. And that's a whole other issue in itself because that's a lot of different kinds of trainings for the current teachers at the sites. But that's in another plan, I'm sure that we'll have to write. So next year, we will have 5 TK classrooms. One in Adelante Selby, which is an existing and continuing program that serves the Spanish immersion program. Hoover will continue, and they have a bilingual teacher in that program. Orion has a new program for the English-speaking students from that area of town. They will go to Orion. Formerly, it was at Clifford this year, but we moved it to Orion to be more centrally located. Next year, the following year, there will probably be one at Clifford again, and they're kind of saving the space in anticipation of that. In addition, there will be an Orion Mandarin immersion program that will serve the Mandarin immersion TK students and will feed into the kindergarten the following year. And there will be a new TK at Taft. Another one of the requirements is the reduction of the ratio of teacher to students over time. This year, the class size is 24 with 1 teacher per 12 students. So every TK classroom, as this year, has 1 teacher and 1 instructional assistant. The following year, the ratio changes from 1 to 10. So if we maintain class size in the TKs at 24, there will need to be 2 instructional assistants with 1 teacher. There are new staffing requirements for the teachers in the TK program. They need to have at least 24 units in early childhood. They need to have had professional experience working in an early childhood program, or that they have a child development teacher permit. We are working with our new TK teachers, who many of them don't yet have this certification, to help them get that certification. And we've set aside some funding to support that through our Effective Educator grant that we had a few months ago. And we're working with in collaboration with the San Mateo County Office of Education that will probably be offering these classes through the county office. And so our teachers will be able to access them pretty easily. That's still being worked out because that's another grant that the county office applied for to develop these trainings. And this is just a sample of what a TK schedule would look like. We're very interested in making sure that it's an age-appropriate program, that it's not just kindergarten 2 years in a row, right? That this is a program that's designed for 4-year-olds. And so we have, and young 4-year-olds in some cases. So we have our TK teachers who have been hired. Again, some of them are already working in the district. And so they've been meeting already on a regular basis with Ann Berhoffa, who is our based on the Educator Effectiveness Grant, is our person who's dedicated to the TKK Early Childhood TOSA position. And she's awesome and has been working with them in planning. Robin Stone, who is our math and science TOSA, also has a strong background in early childhood and has been as one of a teacher in that area through, I believe it's a university down in the South Bay. And so they have been working with our teachers to come up with programs, to come up with a list of materials. And they are, in addition, they're working with the teachers in the pre-K to help make that the transition from the morning TK program to the afternoon pre-K program seamless and not just a repetition of one program to the next. And so that they're planning meetings with the teachers already. So a little bit more about the expanded learning opportunities. This is now being managed by Enrique Calderon, who is our expanded learning opportunity program manager. And he has been in contact with Edna Carmona from the pre-K, as well as Cheryl Chan from the San Mateo County Office of Education, to really talk through what some of the issues are, because there are some issues in setting up this program. We have been advertising these opportunities to TK parents, and I'll show you some information about that in just a second. And that has also now been taken over by Enrique to ensure that parents get appropriate information about the enrollment in the afternoon program. The one little bit of a glitch is that all of the pre-K classrooms that serve the TK students are on the same site with the exception of Orion. And so the Orion students who will be attending the pre-K afternoon program will need to be transported by a bus. And so we're working with the transportation department to figure that out. It's an option for families. Not everybody wants to do this, but we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that they had this option. And so we're reaching out to the families to let them know that. And this is just a little bit of information about the connection of the UPK, the Universal Pre-K, with the TK, all as being part of a P3 larger plan from the governor and looking at early childhood and having this be a fairly collaborative, seamless transition from pre-K up through third grade, ultimately. Right. And so we've been, as I mentioned, we've been working with the pre-K teachers to talk to them about the use of their classrooms and their program in the afternoon, but as part of the larger picture of a pre-K TKK alignment opportunity, which again is really being spearheaded by Anne Mary Hoffa. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I said some of those things. So this is a sample of the responses from the survey that we got that gave us information about the number of families who were interested in having their children attend the pre-K program in the afternoon. We didn't hear from everybody. And so Monday, the second survey went out to say, please let us know and by a certain date if you're interested, because the places that are not filled by TK students in the pre-K, it's hard to say this, will be filled by other kids, right, who just want to sign up for pre-K. So, but the priority in the after-school programs are going to the TK students. Okay, I said that. And so this is a copy of the plan, and I know that you looked at it. It is a not very interesting plan compared to the LCAP, which was really much more of a narrative. This pre-K plan was a drop down from the State Department, and we had to use this format. And so the options for responses were minimal. And so we gave them minimal responses, and there wasn't even room to add much more information, except at the end. So we added more information at the very end where it said other questions to consider. And that's where we put a little bit more of our own narrative because it wasn't a drop down. But what's going to happen with this plan is that it's for your information. It doesn't go anywhere yet. But we will be contacted by the CDE for information about our plan and how they can support us. And I just got that email today. So we'll be filling out a survey about their support of this work. Again, just starting small, but then as we move out over time, how we are looking at this early childhood kind of connected program, pre-K through 3. So these are our next steps. I said that. We are looking at, one of the things that Anne is doing is working with the program that the pre-K is using for reading, which is supported by the Big Lift from San Mateo County office, and it's called SEEDS. And we will probably be using that program because it's very appropriate for 4-year-olds as early reading opportunities. It's not like a benchmark reading series. And the summer program I talked about that, did all that. And then there's a ton of information about the Universal TK, pre-K, and it keeps getting updated all the time because this is a big priority for the governor, and probably some strong advocacy there in Sacramento. And so this is a website for the people who are interested in more information about early childhood, and there's more information that gets added to this daily. And lots of cute pictures of kids in this. Mm-hmm. And so if there's any questions.
Thank you, Liz. Are
Yeah.
there any questions?
I just had one question. I should know this, but so if a TK student wants to do TK and is eligible, are we required to provide it?
If they meet the age requirements,
Yes. Okay. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay. So just double checking on that. All right. Because that was a question that we had earlier. All right. Right.
Right.
Because like I know we have openings at some school sites, but people wanted them at a different school site, but these are basically the classes they would need to go
They have
there.
to fit into our current district program.
Yeah.
We don't have enough students to offer them at every site.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Right.
And then I just have a question, we have all the teachers already hired for
do.
those positions?
We do.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great job, HR.
Yeah, thanks for putting the plan together. It'll be really interesting to see how that P through 3 vision starts to become articulated because just focusing on that early childhood education. So I look forward to seeing what we learn from the program and as it expands out, even though I know it's unfunded, but it'll still be it could be a great opportunity for kids.
Definitely. Thank you. Moving on to 14.3, local indicators for the California School Dashboard.
It went off. It's her mic.
Thank you. So thanks to Jenny Tran, who again can't be here tonight, but put this together. This is another requirement to go along with the LCAP, that it's part of our accountability measures to give you information about how we're being held accountable for results. And some of the results are based on test scores and information that's collected in CalPAS, and that's represented in the dashboard. And we'll look at that in a minute. But other results we are expected to collect on our own because there's not a standardized way of collecting this data. And those are the local indicators. So it's been a while, probably since anyone here has looked at the California School Dashboard, because it hasn't had anything on it for a few years. And so this year it's not going to have much on it again. The only thing that was on it last year were our local indicators, which we presented at the end of the year, along with the LCAP last year, about certain state priorities. Those will be on it again this year with our own information and our own narrative. And there will be a little information around EL and around chronic absenteeism and suspensions. The CASP data probably won't even be shown, may not even be ready at that time. And what will be shown on the dashboard, in addition to our local indicators, is only the status, only the initial information for these other indicators, because there's nothing to compare it to. So there won't be colors. I don't know how much you all remember from a few years ago, but there's a lot of information on the dashboard about how it's about growth and about if there is growth and if there's not growth, and it's based, you see the information by group, by student group. And so it's meant to be an equity look at how your district is doing. And if you're not doing particularly well for certain groups of students in certain subject areas and 2 or more indicators, then you get some additional help from the County Office of Education, right? And so we're trying not to have that happen. So anyway, we won't know too much about that for another couple of years, most likely, because they won't be able to measure the growth until we've had a couple of years of data. But what they will be posting when the information is available is at least the status. And so that's to come. And so what we'll be seeing first will be our local indicator data. And so the California dashboard, I said this, what's posted on the dashboard are these different areas, these different indicators where we measure the performance. And the 6 state indicators are the ones that I mentioned. That's the CASP data for English language arts and math. It's absenteeism, it's our English learner progress, and then it's the suspension rate. The bottom 2 circles there are just for high schools or county offices of ed, and they don't pertain to us. But the local indicators, every district is expected to measure this information in their own way. There are some areas of guidance around this kind of measurement, and usually it's surveys. There's interviews, that kind of thing. There's not a particular exam or something that you can use to measure these indicators. The indicators are updated annually, and the scoring is met or not met, right? And so we kind of determine if we meet or don't meet them. And if we don't meet them for 2 years in a row, then we mark not met for 2 or more years. And that also can produce sanctions from the County Office of Education. So we try to avoid that. So we report this to the board in conjunction with the LCAP, and then we'll be putting it on the fall dashboard. And what we've linked in here now, and I don't think you had this earlier because we just put it together this afternoon, is the actual results of our staff survey so that you can see. And so we cut and pasted some of that into this report so that you can see the numbers. And just, full transparency, we only had about 55 teachers respond to the survey, because it was at the same time as all our other surveys and our, it was the end of the year survey. And so I think we need to think about how to do that differently next year. Anyway, so this goes through the different standards and the different state priorities. So the state priority 1 is about basic service. And we, at this point, are not able to say met or not met. We feel like we're going to be able to say met, but we have to wait for the official release of the teacher misassignments, which in the past has been controlled by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, but this year they turned it over to the CDE to do. And so the CDE is behind on this. And so they haven't given us our official word if we've met the criteria of 100% of our students or our students, our teachers are highly qualified, but we feel sure that they will be. But we haven't had the official word. And then the state academic standards, again, we can link to the staff survey here, but we cut some of this out so that you could see generally why we chose the average score for all of these items. So here were the 52 teachers who responded by grade level span, and generally most of them picked 3 or 4, right, as their response to the question. And we didn't put in each of the questions because it's the exact same question for ELA, the exact same question for ELD, the exact same question for math. And so the numbers are pretty similar for each. And so this is just a sample of that, but you have the full survey if you want to take a look at that. So that it was around, what was it around? The professional development. This one is around, are there sufficient instructional materials and are they being implemented? And again, it's kind of average. And this was around the policies and programs around standards-based materials. And this was other things, and these aren't taking place at all grade levels. So these were primarily answered by teachers in the middle school. But that they said, yeah. And Mike had a question about what does it mean for initial implementation? Shouldn't we be farther along in our implementation on these? But I think those are the state terms. And for us, it was just like the average, right? And so most people said, well, yes, we are. But we had a few people said, no, we're not doing anything. And a few people said, yes, we're doing everything 100%, right? So it was just kind of, we met that standard. But it's information for us in terms of where we need to follow up and kind of look at how we can support the teachers or the sites or the grade levels that didn't score, at least on an average, for these responses. And so we do have that information.
Can I ask a question just before you move on? When you said middle school teachers, but we're still counting like 6, 7, 8 at K-8 schools?
Yes.
Or is that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great,
Also.
thanks.
But again, it wasn't a huge representation, right? But so yes, but there were teachers from each school that responded to this. So yeah, K-8s also. And then this is a support for teachers and administrators around the implementation of academic standards. And again, you see an example of kind of the spread, but that the majority of people responded 3 and 4, although we had a larger number of people at who scored 1. And so that's information for us to take a look at and see where we need to more fully support the interactions between teachers and administrators. And so then we also the state priority 3 is around parent involvement and family engagement. And we relied on our information from the Panorama Climate Survey, because we also attempted to give another survey to parents. Some of you who were at the, I believe we did it at the LCAP meeting. We asked people, the LCAP meeting to please take this assessment to give us a little bit more feedback around involvement and engagement. And I think only like 7 people filled it out, right? So we used that information, but we had a much larger percentage of families respond to the Panorama survey. So we looked through the Panorama survey and pulled out the questions that were aligned with these particular standards. And again, we said that they were on an average of average, the initial implementation. Yet there were some areas of great strength, right? So we want to pull that out as well. And so this will probably go into the write-up that we put on the dashboard. So we have 77% of our families responding favorably to thinking that their students enjoy going to school, and 84%, right? How much respect do you think the teachers at your child's school have for their children? So very, very high scores in this, and so we can call that out, but not all of them are high, right? So we want to accentuate the positive, but also be realistic about the responses. And then these are around building partnerships for student outcomes. We had very, high responses to the administrators creating a school environment that helps their children learn. But then, as you remember from last week, I think it was, they're not interacting in person, right, at school. And there's a reason for that. We didn't allow that to happen until later in the school year. And so that reflects in these responses. Seeking input for decision-making, also very high scores that we can call out in terms of the families who responded to questions that were similar to this on the Panorama survey. And school climate, we use the Panorama survey to measure that. And so again, information about that. Grade 6 to 8. So you've seen this from last time. The broad course of study means that students have access. This is primarily, I think, for students in the upper grades, where in some places, if students, like this was happening locally, but isn't happening so much anymore, where students who were ELs were in a certain track and they didn't get to have electives or were able to take A to G courses, for example, in a high school. Here, this doesn't happen here, right? So students who have additional support needs have an additional class, but they're still taking a full course of study. And so it's not replacing something for them. And so this just lists those. And then this is kind of the overview of the different priorities and the metrics that were used and the wording that will be inserted into the dashboard. And that's it.
And they allows, we're allowed to use a panorama survey.
Yeah,
especially for-
yeah, you can use, they don't give you anything
They
to
didn't give
use, right? There's some suggestions for the kinds of questions you could ask on a survey, but there's no requirement for a particular way to measure any of these things. So anything that makes sense that we can measure with to get this information is fine. It's not like you have to use a CASP test, right? It's more open-ended.
Are there any questions?
Thanks for adding the additional information with a little bit of the details behind the survey. It made it a lot easier to understand where that number was coming from for all the scores. And of course, for putting this together, no other questions.
And then I just have more like, I guess, question comment. I know that all the questions are very important, but have we ever thought of maybe if we were to reduce the number of questions, if perhaps more people would be more lenient to actually answer fewer questions rather than go through, a whole bunch of, I mean, I didn't count how many exactly there were, but.
So we can look at that. We can talk
Thank you, sorry. We can talk with Panorama about limiting the number of questions. It depends on what it is that we want to know, right? And so I think we can take a look at that next year before we send it out, and maybe eliminate some if there are items on there that feel like we don't need to know.
And again, I do understand that all questions are very important, but maybe if we really look and maybe we could, even if we just take, I don't know, 3 or, 2, 3, 4, it would make a big difference where staff members, again, take the time to actually answer questions. It might be easier for them to answer 5 than 10, right? Because it just takes a little longer. So just a thought.
So the way Panorama works, it's you choose the category that you want the questions in. So it could be school safety, it could be, I don't even remember what the categories are, but then you have to have all the questions that are within that. You can't pick and choose the questions. So Elisa and I sat on, there was a I don't know what we called it, a survey committee when we first started using Panorama. And we spent a lot of time on this. There were a lot of questions when we first started. We pared it down a ton. So I don't know how many categories we ask now. Do you know off the top of your head?
I would say maybe 7 or 8.
Oh, it's still that many. Okay.
Yeah, it's still quite a few. So we can look to see if there was, and in fact, we added equity and we added a couple new ones this time.
Okay.
I see. So maybe if we added some, it might be worth looking and seeing if there's any we can take away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's like a category where we don't find it very valuable, because I know when we first started, we had a ton of categories because we weren't sure what was going to be helpful and what wasn't. So.
And yeah, and I appreciate Cecilia you saying that, because anytime people do surveys, they're already always really cognizant, right, of the number of questions. I just want to say that I really value the climate survey. I think it's such useful information, and I do hope the principals and teachers are using it, because has so much valuable information on what they can do to make changes at their school site to benefit kids and families. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Item 15.1 correspondence. Okay, 16 other business suggested items for future agenda. Okay, moving right along, 17 board agenda calendar. Are there any changes? No. Yeah. Okay. So with that,
Before you adjourn, I just wanted to thank you. You know, it just arrived today at this very moment. So thanks so much for the flowers.
They're beautiful.
Yeah,
Thanks
they're
for
beautiful.
sharing
They're
those.
beautiful. Thank you.
enjoy. Okay, and I guess I want to say, rather than giving you guys the choice to make a motion to adjourn a meeting, I would like to end the meeting by actually giving thanks to all staff for a wonderful school year. And I also want to say, thank you to the consultants that actually work with their students with mental health, because again, that's, needed. So with that said, that was just my comment, but if somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Feel open.
Yeah, I guess we do need a motion, but I really like what you said. I was going to say the same thing. I just want to say thank you for a wonderful year. Thanks to all our staff who are here in the room with us, who are online with us, and just all those who are on a vacation now. Well deserved. So thank you very much to everybody. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second that and echo your sentiments.
Well, thank you guys. Have a good evening. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.